Hello there, everyone, and welcome back to the Showing Up to Your Life podcast and YouTube channel. You know my name's Art Burns, and you know that I'm excited to be here with you today, just like I'm excited to be here with you every day. So before we get into things today, though, I have to, I first of all, an apology. I think there was a massive technical problem yesterday with my video. I'm pretty sure that the podcast version, the audio version on the podcast was okay, so I included the podcast link with the email that I sent out. But if any of you YouTube followers didn't get the podcast link, well, I'm sorry. You caught me like in mid-sentence. And then it shut off. I couldn't fix it. I tried for hours. I tried to fix it. And apparently I deleted a file I shouldn't have deleted. I tried to recover it, but it was already empty from the trash. I couldn't get it. I tried many different ways and it just couldn't happen. So at one point, just pushed myself away from the desk and said, it is what it is. I have to accept this, right? And that's a lesson here, right? This is where, when we talk about in mindfulness, there's a phrase that often comes up, and it's John Kabat-Zinn is the one who originally, that I heard say this the first time, which is that life is the curriculum, right? Other people might say that life is your teacher, right? But the idea is that when things arise in our lives, right? Whether they're very happy, exciting, and positive experiences, or they're frustrating, difficult, and strenuous experiences, right? That most people would call negative experiences, right? Not to say one's good or bad, right? That's the idea. They're just experiences, right? And so when this frustrating experience comes up, or this difficult experience that comes up, this gives me an opportunity to practice my own mindfulness, right? And to kind of put the work into use, right? To take all this practice that I've done and apply it to a situation that is current, that is right here, right now, happening as, in real time, right? And so that's exactly what I did yesterday, right? Again, I started to feel myself get tense. I started to feel myself get a little, worked up. I started getting a little, felt that anger even, which is ironic because that's what the episode was all about yesterday, is I started to feel the anger arise a little bit in me, and the thing is that because of the work that I've done here, just like the work that I'm teaching you how to do, what happens is you get to the point where you feel it in such a sort of high definition kind of version of the feeling, right? So that, so that I could feel it when it was in its infancy, right? And that's what told me to say, okay, is there something, it told me to ask myself, is there something that I should accept about this situation? Or is there something that I should let go of about this situation? And on both cases, the answer was yes. Right? I need to let go of the idea that every single podcast is going to be, or video is going to be 100% perfect, right? And that there's no way to get around it, right? I found a way around it. I simply put the link of the podcast into the mailing list that I sent out. So everyone who's on my mailing list got both versions. I mean, maybe I could have put that in the YouTube description as well. I didn't think to do that until just now, right? But the other thing is that I can always do this, what I'm doing now, right? And I'll explain to you what you missed yesterday. It's not that big a deal, right? Now, of course, again, I apologize that, you were listening to this video and 24 minutes in, it was like, and it stopped, and there was nothing after that. That must have been a very sort of letdown experience for you, but that's, but I can always come back and make it up to you. That's my effort anyway, but the point that I'm making though is that for me to get, worked up about it, for me to get angry about it, for me to feel that emotional, hijack about it, well, that's not doing me any good. And it's also not doing you any good, right? Because now how do I make the next video from that mindset, right? Like where, from that physical condition, where, how can I operate? What would happen when I met with my clients yesterday or last night when I got into meditation, right? Where am I going to come from? Right. So even though this one thing seemed to be a fairly important thing, and it's very important. I put every day I put 30 minutes into this, and that's just the video part. That doesn't count the writing of the description and the posting it and all the processing time and stuff. It's a good hour and a half probably every single day that I spend on this work. So yes, it's important, right? But that doesn't mean that sometimes things come up in life that we don't control. In fact, a lot of things come up in life that we don't control. And so it's that feeling that we can somehow control it by getting emotionally involved. That's when it's time to back off and say, you know what? There's nothing I can do about this. I'm going to just accept the consequences of what's happened. I'm going to do my best to make good on it, and I'm going to do my best to persevere through it. But at a certain point, I just have to accept it, right? For my own benefit and for the benefit of all those around me, right? And that's a lesson in mindfulness. So I hope you understand that. And if you don't understand that, if you have any questions about that, I really strongly encourage you to get in touch with me, because it's something that I could very quickly talk through. In a 45-minute session that I offer for free, we could certainly talk about that. So if you're interested in knowing more about that, or if you have any questions about that, please, I'll put the link to book that call in the description, right? So let's review what in the end I was talking about. So I don't remember exactly everything that I was saying, but I was just going on about the anger, right? And the, you know, and really the big thing that I wanted you to know, which was in the description of the video, so you might have read it, but who reads all those things, right? But I wanted you to know that I'm starting this program, right? On April 11th is when I'm launching this program, okay? And it's going to be 10 people, only 10 people, because anything beyond that, it loses its intimacy, and the calls get really long. I mean, I've been in coaching programs myself where I was a coachee, not a coacher, and you know, there were like 30 people in these meetings, and the meetings would last for like 4 hours. So that's not good for anyone, right? So we're not going to do that. So I'm going to limit it to 10 people. Okay, it's an 8-week course, right? That is going to bring us. Actually, I'm sorry, it's a 12-week course. I recently changed that. So it's going to bring you through the process of understanding your anger. If you feel like you have a problem with anger, right? If you find yourself often in an angry place and you find yourself reacting to that anger, right? And you find that it's impacting the areas of your life, like your family, your work, your friends, your just general comfort in life, right? If you find yourself snapping at people at stores and stuff like that, this program is for you, okay? Because that's how I used to be, right? And so over the course of 12 weeks, I'm going to take you, hopefully, through a process where I'm going to teach you the practices, right? And get you to understand your anger, and then transform that anger into something that is much more beneficial to you, right? Much more useful in your life. And so I'm really excited about that. And if you have any questions about that, again, I'm going to put the link in the description to book a call with me. Okay, this one, if you want to talk about the anger program, it's called How to Be Happy for No Reason, right? And that's the idea, right? Is that we can transform our anger into happiness. And it's very possible. And it's not that hard. And it doesn't have anything to do with eliminating our anger, right? It actually has more to do with befriending our anger than anything else. And that's all I'm going to tell you for now. If you have any questions about it, you'll see the link below. I'm going to be announcing a lot of stuff, and I'm also going to be hosting a free sort of workshop in not this week, but next week, I believe, next Sunday, I believe it's scheduled for. I have to get back to you on that. I've got a lot going on here at Art Burns Coaching these days. But that's coming up soon. It's going to be a free, like a 1 hour, maybe 1 hour and a half, free workshop where it's an interactive Zoom call where I'm going to talk about this program. I'm going to talk about the concepts that surround this program. And it's all, again, about transforming anger into something that is more beneficial to us. Because anger, as much as it is a very useful emotion, it's one of the most useful emotions we have, actually, right? But just like stress, if it's employed too often, it goes from something that's very useful to something that's very dangerous and damaging to us, right? The same exact thing that happens with stress, right? Stress is what keeps us alive. As I said yesterday, I think that was in part of the video that you saw. Stress is what keeps us alive. Is what is the reason why the human race has survived for 180,000 years to evolve to people who make rocket ships, I mean, that's the whole thing, right? Stress, it played a huge role in that evolution, right? But yet, stress on a chronic level and a kind of, over stressing is what can kill people. Right? So anger is the same way. It's very, very useful when used properly. But if not, if it's used improperly, it becomes something that's really damaging to all areas of our lives. And I can personally tell you, like, I have lived through it. I have the scars to show for it, literal scars. and I can tell you about the need to transform the anger, that extra anger that's not serving you. We can transform that into something that is really helpful for you. All right. So anyway, that's all I'm going to say here. It's 10 minutes into this video. So let's move on to new business here. And again, I'm very sorry about yesterday. Please forgive me. And I'll do my best not to let that happen again. What happened was right after I did the video, I got this alert on my phone that it was, on my computer rather, that my storage was running low. So I backed everything up. But for some reason, I didn't back up this. I threw it in the trash before backing it up or something, and it was gone. So I'm sorry. Okay, so please forgive me. All right, so what I'd like to talk to you today about is intention. All right. Now, I know it's a little bit of a departure from what we're talking about. However, yes and no, right? Intention is vital. It's absolutely integral to the work that we do in mindfulness, right? In fact, a lot of teachers, including myself, will tell you that simply setting the intention to meditate is meditation enough. Right? At least in the beginning. Now, that, I say that very carefully because I don't want you to think, okay, well, that's all I got to do. I'm fine. It's not really that simple, right? But it's almost that simple, right? The point is that the intention to meditate is a meditation in and of itself, right? So it's a place to get started, right? And so it's not the end all be all, but it is a very, very important step, right? So let's talk about what intention is, right? So the reason why intention can be seen as a meditation in and of itself is because the minute you set an intention, or the instant that you set an intention on something, what you're doing is you're focusing your attention. Okay, and you're focusing on something in the present moment. Even if you're setting an intention that is dated in the future, you're doing it in a very present way. Okay, so just doing that, you're grounding yourself in the present moment, and that is the whole point of all this work. So just setting the intention, you're already doing the work, right? Now, if all you do, I'm just gonna be very honest with you here, right? If all you do is set the intention to meditate and that you never ever go any past that, it's going to help you, but it's going to be a long, long road, to the point where you start feeling any kind of, before you start seeing any evidence of how the work is helping you. Okay. So that's just a disclaimer. Okay. To sort of balance out that cavalier, attitude of just set the intention is good enough. But anyway, the whole point of that is that I often, when people are having a hard time, establishing a daily meditation practice, that's usually what I do. I bring it back to say, hey, just set the intention and just sit down. Even if you get up 2 seconds later, you just do that every day without fail. Do that. Right. And then eventually what happens is you sit for a minute. Then you realize, wow, okay, I can sit for a minute. You sit for a minute for a few weeks, and then, okay, I sit for 2 minutes. And then I sit for 3 minutes, and then 5 minutes, and then 10 minutes, and all of a sudden, I've got a meditation practice, right? So that's the way that intention works with regards to the formal meditation, right? But intention in our lives, right, is also very, very helpful and important because, again, by living with intention, right, it kind of is synonymous with living in consciousness or living with non-judging awareness, right? And so there's a quote that's used a lot in this world of mindfulness and meditation, and the quote goes, "Where attention goes, energy flows." Okay, and what that means, right, is that when we pay attention to something, right? When we attend to something specific, right? That's where we're devoting our energy into that. It's a simple enough, concept, right? I don't need to explain that to you. But the thing that I want to make you understand is that, again, that when you're putting your attention into something, right, that means that you're being mindful, right? Because if you're not putting your attention into anything, well, then you're just kind of going along with all the thoughts that are going on in your mind, and you're getting lost in it, right? And that's how we can get stuck in it all, and we can lose ourselves in that whole mess of chaotic thought and distraction that really pulls us away from the things that matter in our lives, right? So by living with intention, what you're doing is you're snapping yourself out of that, right? And again, it doesn't really matter whether you make the intention, you follow through on the intention in a certain way or not, right? Like, that's not the important part, and I'm going to tell you why in a second. What's really important is simply setting the intention. Right. So that's the thing that I would focus on. Now, this can work in many different ways, but one of the ways that I really love to do, and well, I mean, it's really just a very basic thing, right? That, when we say be intentional, right, that can mean, it means a wide variety of things, obviously, but mostly what that means is, at least in the context of this work, right, it can mean when you wake up in the morning, right? Set the intention before you get out of bed. Set the intention. Today, I'm going to be more receptive to people. I'm going to listen more today than I speak. Or the intention could be, I'm going to be kind to people, or I'm setting the intention to do 5 selfless, kind things for people today. Now, that could be holding open a door. That could be buying somebody a cup of coffee. That could be, helping somebody carry something. It could simply be making eye contact with somebody and saying, like, I really appreciate you. It could be all kinds of different things, right? It could be letting somebody in a merge on the highway, it could be all kinds of things, right? That again, following through on it is less important than actually just setting the intention. So in the morning, you can set the intention, whatever you feel like is important for you, right? So again, maybe it's, I'm going to try to be aware of my anger today. I'm going to try to be, more balanced today. I'm going to eat well today. It could be anything. Right? Anything. But setting that intention in the morning, right? What it does is it's again, just like everything else we talk about here, it's training the mind, right? And it's training the mind to be intentional, right? Because you got to practice it, right? You got to practice it in order for that neuroplasticity to happen, where it becomes a natural inclination of the brain and the mind, right? So the idea then is, as you're going through the day, right, you can check in with that intention, right? And this is where it does become a little bit more about the actual following through on it. But again, it's not the point is not to just make you a kinder person. I mean, I hope we do make you a kinder person through all this work, but that's not really the point of the intention, because it doesn't necessarily have to be that, right? Again, it could be something like, I'm setting the intention to not drink a milkshake today, or I'm setting the intention to not drink, that 2 extra cups of coffee that I drink every afternoon, right? Something like that, right? It really doesn't matter, right, what the intention is, but being intentional matters so greatly, right? Because again, it gives you something to kind of center yourself, right? And then throughout the day, as I started to just say a moment ago, throughout the day, even if you don't, consciously do it, you're going to find yourself, checking in with it. You're going to find yourself naturally just kind of gauging, like, am I living up to this intention or am I not? Right? And then in that moment, right, the moment that you're asking yourself that question, right, the moment you're saying, am I living up to my intention or am I not? Right then, in that instant, you are here. You are 100% in this present moment, right? And you do that often enough, well, guess what? That makes you always present, right? That's what eventually happens. And it takes some time. If this is the only work you're doing, this takes some time. So that's why it's best to think about this as a supplemental or a complementary practice to the other practices that you're doing. Right now, also you can do this throughout the day, right? It doesn't have to just be only in the morning, right? If I were coaching you, I would ask you to set the intention first thing in the morning, like literally before you get out of bed, right? Set the intention for what the day, what something that you're going to do today, right? Just set that intention first thing in the morning, and then throughout the day you check in with it. Right? You just, maybe you set a timer to go off. Maybe you just, put Post-it notes around your office or whatever, and you check in with yourself. Now, I would also ask you to set intentions throughout the day too. For instance, before every meeting that you go into at work, which are now Zoom calls, right? Before you log into every Zoom meeting, set the intention to, to be more attentive, or set the intention to, to resist the urge to look at your Facebook on your phone while you're on the, like a lot of people have their phone like set up like right over here so you can be looking at the screen, but you're really looking at like a YouTube video or something, right? So set the intention to be more present, right? Or set the intention to hold space for other people in the meeting to speak, right? Whatever it is that you feel you need to work on, that's what you set the intention for. Because when we say where attention goes, energy flows, right? What that means is that by setting that intention, it's like you're putting a little, guidepost out there, like a little trail marker out there, right? And as you're going through your day and as you're going through your life, right, you're kind of looking at that, and it happens subconsciously. It's not something that you're consciously doing, right? But it becomes a subconscious thing where you're, and that's what I mean, that you'll find yourself eventually checking in automatically without any effort. Right? So it becomes this sort of unconscious guidepost out there that says, does this align with your intention or not? Right? And what happens then is that you're going to start feeling, right? When you're doing something that does not align with the intention that you set, your body's going to tell you. And when your body tells you that, again, now right here, right now, this is the opportunity to come back to the intention. Right? If that sounds familiar, it should, because that's exactly the same process that we do in meditation, right? What we're doing is when we're meditating, we're focusing. If you're meditating with me, you're focusing on your breath. And when your mind wanders off and you realize that it's wandered, you simply bring yourself back. You simply return to the breath. Okay? Same process, same exact process. And that's where it is just absurdly simple, right? So let me tell you a little story about one of the wonderful people I get to work with every week. It's one of my, again, I really, if any of you can think of a different word from client, please send me some ideas, because I'm racking my brain trying to figure out another term for people that doesn't sound so businessy, because it's not a business thing. I mean, this is not something that yes, I do this work to support myself and to support my family. So technically it is my livelihood. It technically is my business, I guess. It keeps me busy, that's for sure. So it is busyness, that's for sure. But it doesn't feel like, it's not, some of these coaching programs are very businessy, and that's not what I am at all. So I'm dying to get another word for it, but the whole point is that, anyway, getting past the whole client paradox here, one of the wonderful people who I meet every week as a coach, they a few months ago, they had talked to me about, they had moved into a new apartment, right, with or a new house, I guess, with a couple of roommates, right, and they felt that there was a disconnect with the roommates, right? They felt like there was a lot in common. There was a lot of common ground and a lot of, room for even collaboration on creative projects, right? And this person who I work with, was feeling like, it's a shame that we're not more together in this. I mean, we spend all this time in this house together, and we're like, we treat each other almost like strangers, even though there's a lot of, again, similarities, right? They're all artists in the house. They're all in the LGBTQ community. There are all kinds of things that should, make a natural kind of cohesiveness, right? But yet they were very disjointed, right? Everybody spends their time in their rooms, and nobody, uses the common area to be common with each other, right? And so the person with whom I'm working said at one point, they said, they were like, I gotta, I'd love to figure, and this was in a coaching call, right? They were like, I've got to figure out some way that that I can break through this, that I can somehow become more social with these people with whom I live. Again, they're artists. I'm an artist. We could collaborate. We could learn from each other. This could be a really beautiful friendship, right? Well, they set the intention. They had said that, right? And that was the intention. Now, they didn't know it at the time, and I didn't make a big deal out of it at the time, but I was watching, right? And that was the intention that they set, right? And now, again, it doesn't mean that you stop everything in your life and you keep badgering these people until they become your friends, right? They had many different, this person I'm talking to had many different ideas, like maybe, Friday night, they order pizza, they live in California, so maybe they get some cannabis going, and they have a little, pizza cannabis party, and that's a way to break, the social lubrication kind of thing, right? And so that was one idea. Another idea was, maybe collaborating on some work, maybe, kind of offering some assistance, or as a way to break that ice and stuff like that. So there were all these ideas that came through. Now, there was no active active effort on on this person's part to make these things happen. They had just said, this is what I want to happen, right? Now, here's what happens when you do that, right? When you set that intention and you say, this is what I want to happen, this is how I want things to go, right? What happens is, again, remember, energy flows, right? So from that moment forward, again, subconsciously, this is not something that happens in our active awareness. This is something that happens deep down, right? Unless, of course, you can always bring your awareness. You can bring this into your conscious awareness, right? But it doesn't have to happen that way. And it didn't happen that way for my client, right? They set this intention, and they largely forgot about it in their conscious mind. But what happens is that in that time, after that intention is set, right, there's something that happens with, remember, the energy flows. So there's something that happens with every decision you make, every word you speak, every, kind of action, every gesture, every, everything that you do kind of tends toward that intention. Right? That's the energy flowing towards it, right? And so what I mean by that, and it's very subtle, and it's not something that's very easy to see, but maybe they were, a little bit more friendly in their talking with the people, right? Maybe they were a little bit more, sharing, maybe they bought a little extra food and, and said, oh, I have leftovers. Would you like it? And again, it wasn't a conscious thing where this person was striving towards making this happen. But lo and behold, about 2 months later, right, I got on a call with this person, and they told me they're collaborating with one of the roommates, who's a DJ, and they're going to work together on something. They went on a ski trip like last week. All of a sudden, everything that was in that intention has come true, but not because it was like forced. Right? Because sometimes when we try to force something, it's like, I don't know. Like the other person's, it's a little pushy. It feels weird, right? So in that way, sometimes just setting the intention can actually be the perfect solution, right? And so that's what this person did. Was they had set the intention, and as soon as they had set the intention, their energy started flowing towards that intention, right? And another thing that happens then is that you're likely to remember it from time to time. You're likely to remember, oh yeah, I should be nice to this roommate. I should give my roommate offer the extra food to that person. Hey, I got this new song. I should share it with my roommate, right? So all of these things happen that, again, is not about saying, hey, how can we spend more time together, you and me? But you're doing the things that invite more time to be spent together. So it happens organically and naturally and beautifully. And so setting intention or living intentionally is not just very simple, but it's hugely beneficial to you. So I'm going to invite you today to try to get yourself in the habit of doing that, right? Every morning without fail, 7 days a week, okay, for the next 7 days, okay? Wake up before you even get out of bed. You just set an intention for the day. Now, you're going to forget, right? Maybe day number 4, I forgot to set my intention. Well, you know what? You already set the intention to set the intention, so don't worry about it. It's going to happen. So just keep trying. And I promise you, in the matter of a few weeks down the road, you're going to be doing it automatically without even thinking about it. And that's where the magic starts happening. As I like to say, that's when you're cooking with gas. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Again, had a great meeting last night with my group, meditation group. Okay, so I would love to see some of you come into this group. It is so awesome. Now, we are going to be doing a donation. We're going to ask for some donations because we're actually putting some money. I shouldn't say we. I mean, my partner in this, Adam, is he's putting some money into this, and so we're trying to at least get it to the point where it's cost neutral. But again, this is what we're doing, and Adam has a full-time job, so it's like hard for him sometimes to fit it in. The perfect solution is to make this his full-time job, and that comes from donations. But for right now, it's completely free, and even the donation is going to be whatever you think it's worth. So, check it out, but come to one of the sessions, check out the meditation. Adam runs it on Saturday mornings at 9 a.m. Mountain Time. I run it on Wednesday evenings at 7 p.m. Mountain Time, and it's really great. We have great discussions, great meditations, great vibe, great stuff. So if you're interested, please check us out. All right. And then again, I'm going to put a link below if you want to talk about the program that I'm starting, a group program. It's going to be really awesome. Okay. I would love to tell you about it. And it's all about transforming your anger into something more useful, like happiness. And it's hard to believe that you can transform anger into happiness. I know that seems like just mind-boggling. That's why you want to get on the phone with me. I'll explain to you what I mean by that. And it's really awesome. And believe me, this is what I did many years ago. I transformed my anger into happiness. And that's why I call it how to be happy for no reason, because I don't need something to make me happy, right? Happiness wells from within me. And I can teach you how to do that. That's basically what the course is going to be, is teaching you how to be happy. And I can't wait. All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. I wish you well, and I'll be back again tomorrow. Take care. Bye-bye.